Okay, what if, and just stay with me here for a second, what if the fact that you've been completely devoted, like fiercely faithful to one single partner for the last 20 years is actually proof that you are spiritually unevolved?
It is a massive, frankly uncomfortable thought experiment.
Right. I mean, think about it. Everything you were taught about romance, about loyalty, about, finding your one and only. What if all of that is actually an anchor keeping your soul tied to a lower level of existence?
It completely flips the cultural script.
It really does. And that is the massive, mind-bending premise of today's deep dive. We are getting into some incredibly fascinating source material today.
We're looking at a philosophical text written in 2020 by an author named Suefeng,
Right?
and it was translated by Kinyu and edited by Keor. The title itself is wholly specific. It's called Testing One's Life Level According to Their Love.
And the mission for our deep dive today is to really unpack this radical framework because it treats romantic love not just as, a fleeting emotion or some biological urge.
Or social contract.
Exactly. It uses the way you experience love as a literal metaphysical diagnostic tool to measure whether your spiritual evolution is what the author calls terrestrial, meaning earthly and bound, or celestial.
Which means heavenly, elevated, and entirely free.
So to everyone listening, whether you consider yourself a hopeless romantic, or maybe you're a hardened skeptic, or just insanely curious about different spiritual philosophies, you are going to want to sit with this because it doesn't just offer standard relationship advice.
The format.
Yeah, it completely challenges traditional notions of what a good relationship even looks like. So let's unpack this. Where do we even start with a concept this big?
Well, to really understand how radical this is, I think we have to start with the foundational premise that Zuofeng establishes right out of the gate.
Okay.
The text argues that every level of life, and life is capitalized in the text, L-I-F-E, has its own corresponding level of love. And the absolute most basic indicator of what level you are currently operating on is simply how love makes you feel internally.
Just how it feels.
Right. The text draws a very hard line here. If your love troubles you, if it makes you miserable, it is classified as terrestrial.
Wow.
But if your love pleases you and makes you happy, it is celestial.
I want to pause right there because that sounds almost too simple on the surface. But when you really think about it, it directly attacks almost every piece of media we consume.
Oh, absolutely. The romantic ideal.
Yeah. Think about all the epic romances we celebrate in movies or books. The couples who, they fight for their love through years of agonizing misunderstandings.
Intense jealousy.
Yes, the jealousy, the sheer misery. I mean, we are practically brainwashed to view suffering and love as this noble sacrifice.
As a badge of honor.
Exactly. It's treated as proof of how deep the commitment really is.
And what's fascinating here is that the author suggests suffering is the exact opposite of a noble sacrifice. According to the text, it's a symptom of being stuck.
Being stuck.
Right. From this philosophical standpoint, the misery that we romanticize so much isn't a sign of profound depth. It is a clear, flashing indicator that the individuals involved are operating at a lower earthly frequency.
So it's not a test of devotion.
Not at all. Misery, in this framework, is a warning light that your approach to love is fundamentally flawed.
Okay, but wait. I have to push back here on behalf of anyone listening who has ever actually tried to build a life with another human being.
Fair enough.
Because anytime two independent people with different backgrounds, different traumas, different habits try to merge their lives, there's going to be friction. I mean, struggle feels like a normal, inevitable part of human growth.
It does feel that way to us, yeah.
Right. So is Xu implying that true celestial love is just completely frictionless, like a perfectly greased wheel with absolutely no emotional heavy lifting? Because honestly, that sounds less like spiritual elevation and more like a fantasy.
It's a great point. And to understand the frictionless nature the text proposes, we have to isolate where the friction is actually coming from. The text implies that the misery doesn't stem from the pure act of loving someone. The misery is generated by the terrestrial rules, the boundaries, and the expectations that we wrap around that love.
The conditions we put on it.
Exactly. The emotional heavy lifting you're talking about usually involves navigating unmet expectations or possessiveness or the fear of loss. Celestial love bypasses that friction entirely by simply removing the conditions that create it.
So if the friction isn't coming from the love itself, but from the boundaries we build around it, I mean, we have to look at the ultimate boundary, right? Exclusivity.
Yes, this is where the framework gets really challenging.
Yeah, because this brings us to the next part of this diagnostic test. The text moves from how love feels on the inside to the actual structural math of a relationship on the outside.
Shufeng directly targets the whole concept of the one and only. The text clearly states that if you have only one partner throughout your entire life, and if you have a fixed object of love,
A fixed object.
right, a specific person, if you do that, your love is strictly terrestrial.
That is wild.
To elevate to the celestial level, the text argues you must follow your destiny and nature without a fixed object. It goes as far as to explicitly state that the more lovers you include, the more you demonstrate celestial love.
Okay, let that sink in for a moment for everyone listening. Having one partner for your whole life, which is like the gold standard of human romance.
The ultimate goal for most people.
Right. That is defined here as a lower earthly state. And then the text takes this into the realm of jealousy, which is where my brain really starts to break.
It asks a lot of our conventional psychology.
It really does. Because it says that feeling jealous when your partner has feelings for others is terrestrial. And to be celestial, you must actually feel joy when your lover loves many others.
Complete joy.
I mean, I try to imagine a human brain overriding its own evolutionary panic to feel pure joy at a partner's infidelity. It feels almost alien.
Well, it feels alien because human psychology is deeply rooted in a scarcity mindset. And the text identifies that scarcity mindset as fundamentally terrestrial.
A scarcity mindset in love.
Yes. In a terrestrial worldview, love is a finite resource. It's divisive. The underlying fear of jealousy is basically the fear of displacement.
Like, if they love someone else, they love me less.
Precisely. If my partner loves someone else, there's a literal reduction in the amount of love, time, and energy available for me. It is viewed as a zero-sum game, and that naturally triggers ego panic and self-preservation.
So how does the text suggest someone actually override that? Because that is a very real, very visceral panic.
This is where the text introduces the concept of cosmic holography.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let me try to break this down with an analogy for you listening, because this was the key to the entire philosophy for me.
Go for it.
Okay, so if you view love through that terrestrial scarcity mindset we just talked about, love is essentially a pizza.
A pizza.
Right. If you have a pizza and you share it with 2 people, you get half. If you share with 8 people, your slice gets noticeably smaller. Every new person diminishes your share.
It's a physical, finite object. It can only be divided so many ways before nothing is left.
Exactly. But celestial love, according to this text, operates on the principle of cosmic holography. So instead of a pizza, think of an actual physical hologram.
Okay.
If you take a holographic glass plate that holds a 3D image, let's say an image of an apple, and you drop that plate so it shatters into 100 pieces.
Right.
If you pick up any single tiny shard of that glass and shine a laser through it, you don't just see a piece of the apple's stem. You see the entire, complete 3D image of the apple perfectly reproduced.
The image doesn't divide.
Perfectly replicated.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. In fact, the author specifically writes, and I'll quote this, "If you know that your love is in line with cosmic holography, then no matter how many partners you love, every one of them will be complete."
Every one of them is complete.
Right. But it requires a massive psychological shift. You have to stop viewing love as a substance that you distribute and start viewing love as a frequency or a state of resonance.
Like tuning into a radio station.
Exactly. If you exist in a state of celestial love, adding a new partner doesn't siphon love away from anyone else. The entirety of your love is present in every connection, just like the whole apple is visible in every shard of glass.
That reframing really helps explain the jealousy aspect. Because, I mean, if my slice of pizza isn't actually getting smaller, the panic of displacement disappears.
The fear is gone.
Yeah. But moving from theory to practice is a massive leap. If celestial love operates like this boundless, replicating hologram, how does that actually manifest in the real world, like on a random Tuesday?
Right, how do you live it?
What does the day-to-day behavior of a celestial lover look like, especially when the urge to protect our relationships is so deeply ingrained in us?
This leads perfectly into the daily behavioral markers of the text diagnostic test. Because it's not just about the number of partners you have, it's about how you hold the people you love. The text categorizes several specific behaviors, and the first major one is control. If you have the desire to control, guide, train, or make a lover behave according to your standards, your love is terrestrial.
Oh man, the phrase guide and train is so revealing because in modern relationships, we often frame that behavior as a positive thing.
We do.
We call it making each other better or, helping them reach their potential.
Constructive criticism.
Right. Wishing a partner was a bit more ambitious or tidier or just better at communicating. We see that as an act of care.
But from Xu Feng's perspective, that desire to mold someone is purely an expression of ego.
Wow.
When you try to guide or train a partner, you are no longer loving the actual complex human being in front of you. You are loving a projected ideal of what you want them to be.
You're loving your own idea of them.
Yes, and you are trying to force their destiny to align with your comfort zone. The celestial alternative, according to the text, is offering absolute, unconditioned freedom.
Unconditioned freedom. I mean, giving someone full freedom sounds beautiful, but it leads right into the next behavior the text addresses, which is proximity and attachment.
Because freedom means they can leave.
Exactly. If you give someone total freedom, they might walk away. And the text states that wanting to be inseparable, pestering your lover, or always wanting to be physically with them is entirely terrestrial.
Which is a tough pill to swallow.
It completely contradicts the plot of literally every romantic comedy ever made. The ultimate climax of those movies is always two people realizing they can never spend another moment apart.
Right, rushing through the airport to stop them from leaving.
Yes. But this text says that's a lower level of existence.
Because the celestial level approaches the concept of closeness entirely differently. It moves the connection from the physical realm to the psychological and spiritual.
How so?
The text explains that if you have truly embedded the object of your love into your consciousness, they will taste very sweet to you regardless of physical distance.
Embedded in your consciousness.
Yes. It doesn't matter if you live together, if you are separated by oceans, or if you rarely even communicate. The connection exists entirely independently of physical proximity.
Embedded in your consciousness. That means the security of the relationship doesn't rely on the constant, exhausting maintenance of checking in or physically guarding the person.
You don't need to monitor them.
Right. But getting to that level of security requires the final behavioral test, which focuses on openness. The text argues that if you lack magnanimity, meaning if you hide things or keep secrets, your love is terrestrial.
It's all about transparency.
Yeah, the celestial requirement is to, quote, bear yourself open to love nakedly.
And we really have to ask why secrets act as an anchor to the terrestrial plane in this framework.
Why do they?
Well, secrecy is the ultimate tool of the ego's self-preservation. We hide things because we want to curate the image our partner has of us to ensure they keep loving us.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
We hide our flaws to maintain control over the relationship's narrative. To bear yourself nakedly, as the text demands, is to surrender that control entirely.
Which raises such an incredible paradox for you to think about as you're listening to this. On one hand, the text says celestial love is about following your destiny and nature, which sounds very spontaneous, wild, and completely free.
Very natural.
But on the other hand, the mechanism to achieve that freedom requires an absolute brutal level of self-discipline.
Yes, it does.
Think about the complete and total ego death required to actually do this. To bare your soul with zero secrets, to suppress every instinct to control or improve your partner, and to genuinely feel joy when they are with someone else.
It is a massive paradox. You are asked to be entirely open and vulnerable, yet you are forbidden from grasping at or possessing the person you are being vulnerable with.
It's almost superhuman.
You must love infinitely, but need nothing in return. It demands a level of detachment that most human beings spend a lifetime failing to achieve through intense meditation, let alone in the messy arena of romantic relationships.
Which begs the ultimate question, why do it?
Right, what's the point?
Yeah, why go through the immense, ego-crushing effort of stripping away all your natural human instincts, your jealousies, and your desire for exclusivity? If this isn't just some quirky self-help book about how to stop arguing with your spouse, what are the actual stakes here? What is the final destination of this diagnostic test?
The stakes are quite literally cosmic.
Okay.
The text concludes by outlining the absolute consequences of passing or failing this evaluation of your life level.
The final grade.
Exactly. If, after analyzing your patterns, your love remains terrestrial, meaning if you still cling, control, and demand exclusivity, the consequence is that you, and I quote, must remain a human forever.
Wait, remain a human forever, we really need to pause and explore the existential weight of that phrase.
It's heavy.
Because most philosophies view human life as a gift, or at least a neutral testing ground. But here, being human is framed as a limitation. It sounds like being held back a grade in school for all of eternity.
A permanent holding pattern.
Yes. An endless cycle of repeating the same anxieties, the same jealousies, the same scarcity mindset over and over again. It reframes humanity itself as a state of spiritual stuckness.
It absolutely treats earthly existence as a loop generated by our attachments. Our terrestrial love is the very thing that binds us to this plane.
But there's an exit strategy.
There is. If your love elevates to the celestial level, if you successfully implement cosmic holography and total freedom, you break the loop.
You graduate.
You do.
Yeah.
The text states you're no longer a human being. You transform into a celestial being. And upon the completion of your life's journey, you are permitted to go to the fairyland.
The fairyland, such an evocative term. It sounds whimsical, almost like a fairy tale, but in the context of this heavy, ego-destroying framework, it represents a state of transcended reality.
It's the ultimate release.
Yeah, the release from the heavy, gravity-bound friction of human suffering.
When you synthesize the entire framework, you realize Xuefeng is using romance as a Trojan horse for spiritual transcendence.
Oh, wow. I love that phrasing, a Trojan horse.
The way you navigate your romantic life isn't just a subset of your human experience. According to this text, it is the literal vehicle determining your soul's trajectory. You either use love to anchor yourself to the dirt, or you use love as the mechanism to ascend beyond the human condition entirely.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? I want you to really reflect on your own relationships, your own desires, and your own attachments.
It's a lot to process.
It is. Think about the behaviors we normally celebrate as the pinnacle of deep devotion. The overwhelming urge to be someone's one and only, the desire to build a life where you are completely inseparable.
That little pang of jealousy that makes you feel protected.
Exactly, the jealousy that validates that you care. According to this text, are those deeply cherished feelings actually the very anchors tethering you to the earth? Are the things we call true love actually the things keeping us human forever?
It is a deeply unsettling question because it completely challenges the fundamental metrics we use to define a successful life.
It really does.
Is the ultimate victory finding someone to possess completely? Or is the ultimate victory cultivating the capacity to love endlessly without possessing anything at all?
That is the big question. So let's do a quick recap of the massive philosophical journey we just took through this deep dive.
We covered a lot of ground.
We did. We started with the premise that love is a diagnostic tool, and that misery indicates a lower terrestrial state, while joy indicates a celestial one.
Which led us to the mechanics of that misery.
Right, pointing directly at the scarcity mindset of exclusivity and jealousy. Then we introduced the incredible mental model of cosmic holography, where love doesn't divide like a pizza, but replicates perfectly like a shattered hologram.
A beautiful concept.
Truly. And then we unpacked the extreme ego death required to relinquish all control, to embed a lover in your consciousness rather than clinging to their physical presence, and to exist in total naked transparency.
And finally, the cosmic choice.
Yes, arriving at the ultimate consequence, remaining trapped in the human cycle forever, or ascending to a celestial fairyland.
It is a profoundly challenging text. Whether you agree with the author's conclusions or not, the framework successfully forces us to examine the invisible, ego-driven boundaries we place around our capacity to love.
It absolutely does. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to mull over. Something that builds directly on the implications of Xuefeng's text, but wasn't explicitly stated in our breakdown.
What's that?
If achieving this true celestial love requires us to completely abandon jealousy, to surrender all attachment, and to let go of that deep-seated, desperate desire to be uniquely special to just one person, does achieving that celestial state mean we stop feeling human altogether? Or does it mean we finally become what humans were always meant to be?
That is a brilliant thought to end on.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and we will catch you next time.